Hello everyone and welcome back guys to round 17 now I think of the F1 2018 Williams Road to Glory Career Mode, where we are here today for the Japanese Grand Prix. Quite a good little fun track on the whole, especially after the remodel. I never really liked it prior to F1 2017, but with the new remodel Japan, it is really an exciting circuit. But if you did miss out on the Russian Grand Prix, I would highly recommend going back and checking them out. Big news as we move into next season with new new rule changes even to the Formula 1 calendar means that we're now really having to try and work overtime on keeping the R&D obviously intact and making sure that all the upgrades that we've applied to the car so far this season will work moving into next season. It's going to be a wet qualifying, but a full, well, hopefully a full dry race here at the Japanese Grand Prix. But let's move into practice.
Hello and welcome to one of the all-time great circuits. We're about to get free practice underway here at Suzuka. One of the more intimidating corners on any Formula 1 track is the legendary 130R. Whilst unusual, the name actually comes from the original design of the corner, a 130-metre radius turn starting just past the track crossover. Over the years, due to several severe accidents, the corner's been redesigned to create a straighter entry and creating what is now a double apex left-handed corner.
Despite the changes, this is still one of the most exhilarating corners that drivers in F1 have to take. It's not normally considered an overtaking spot, but this is the scene of one of Fernando Alonso's most famous manoeuvres, when in 2005 he passed Michael Schumacher's Ferrari around the outside.
So here we are then at free practice for the Japanese Grand Prix. We're going to jump straight into the track acclimatization lap, as we always do. Their purple score on the end of that lap, 535 points, so 40 over what we actually needed there. Really do have quite strong, sort of pace around this circuit on the whole. Obviously not strong enough to complete the qualifying program though. That thing is still ridiculously OP no matter where I go, which means unfortunately it's only going to be about just under 200 R&D points there, which is going to take us up to 455. Should mean though we are able to get our last upgrade obviously converted, ready for the new 2019 season, the 2018 season 2 obviously. So that means now hopefully obviously all these upgrades should now work all right. We've got a 20% chance of failure on each and every one there, so overall quite good odds, but we'll be saving up R&D points now ready for the 2019, well, season 2 of 2018. But let's move on then into quali.
Welcome to Japan and the impressive Suzuka track for today's qualifying session, where we should be underway shortly. And as we count down to that green light, I have to say, Anthony Davidson, that this rain is not showing any signs whatsoever of abating. I imagine we'll be looking at some last-minute setup changes to better adapt these cars to the conditions. What do you think?
The trouble is, Crofty, they need to be thinking about the race tomorrow. You don't want to go jacking up the ride heights and piling on a few points of extra downforce that you're not going to want in the Grand Prix itself. The Parc Ferme regulations mean that you have to make that choice. The best thing the drivers can do is adapt with the tools they have available in the cockpit. Moving the brake bias forward will help stop the rear end slipping out under braking, and opening up the differential can really help tame the oversteer on corner exit. The drivers that can make best use of these techniques will have the best chance for success here today.
So here we are then in a very soggy Japanese Grand Prix.
Right, it's not going to be easy getting into the next qualifying session, but we know you'll give it your all.
And yeah, the team there not too confident about our hopes around this track. Unfortunately, my first banker lap wasn't particularly good, but we are near enough 7/10 up as we come out of the final corner to finish the end of my second lap here. And unfortunately, it's only going to be P20 there. Nothing really so far to talk about from this Grand Prix weekend. Very frustrating with obviously free practice with the practice programs as well as qualifying. Just didn't go the way I'd hoped. The rain, this circuit just was not a good combo for the Williams car. As you can see, both of us right at the very back of the field there. So we're going to have to strap on a new engine as we move into the race and only hope then that we can try and recover absolutely anything from this Japanese Grand Prix weekend, so it's not a complete write-off.
We're live today from the Mie Prefecture of Japan as we look forward to the Japanese Grand Prix. The 2015 race here was one of only 5 Grand Prix in history to feature no retirements at all. Although with the highly competitive field we have today, I don't expect we'll be repeating that stat anytime soon. 18 corners make up a lap of the incredible figure-of-8 Suzuka circuit, with 10 to the right and 8 to the left, for a distance of 3.6 miles. Average lap speeds around here are fairly quick. If it stays dry, then expect somewhere in the region of 136 miles per hour. With me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Now, I want to ask you about Romain Grosjean. Looks like they've got a tough race in store today, as grid penalties from changing power unit components has forced them further down the field.
Everyone has to deal with penalties or reliability issues from time to time throughout their career. You just have to suck up the pain and get on with the job at hand. Today isn't about performing a miracle to put the car back where it should be. It's about effective damage limitation.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Kimi Raikkonen's perfect lap yesterday sees him start from pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Hamilton, Daniel Ricciardo, and Verstappen, Sainz, Hülkenberg, Ocon, and Fernando Alonso, Magnussen, Leclerc, Stoffel Van Dorn, and Hartley, Perez, Rixon, Pierre Gasly, and Lance Stroll, Grosjean, and the Professor. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Our grid position is not as high as we had hoped, but push hard in the race and hopefully with a bit of luck, we can finish with a positive result.
So yeah, as I said, nothing really so far to talk about from this Japanese Grand Prix weekend, so we've pretty much just got already to the race now. We're going to put 4 laps of spare fuel in the car, but here we are then on the grid, ready for the Japanese Grand Prix. It's 5 lights and it's lights out, and away we go there. Charlie Whiting really not holding on for all too long there. Once again, an absolutely appalling start. I think the starts are near impossible to get right on F1 2018 relative to the AI. Going down in towards turn 1 there, Grosjean trying to capitalise in any way he possibly could. We're going to try and have a look right around his outside, but just don't get the turn in on the exit of the corner there, which means we're still going to be down at the rear of the field here as we come through the first few corners of this opening lap here. Through the S section, really is quite fantastic when you get it right, but sat in dirty air on lap 1 and heavy fuel and everything, it's not quite as fun as you can just see the Williams car understeering absolutely massively as we come through these first couple of corners though. But it's giving us a little bit of track space, meaning that through the Degners we should be able to get an alright run there. Close right up again to the rear of Romain Grosjean here as we now come out to Kamui Kobayashi's favourite place around this Japanese Grand Prix circuit. We're going to try and take inspiration from that. Down the inside of Grosjean as well as Pierre Gasly as we come through the corner. Do hold it a little bit of wheel banging between myself and Gasly on exit there, but we do now move up into P18 of the Grand Prix there, so 2 places made up off the start. But now skipping on to lap 4 of this race. See, we weren't really we weren't losing touch from the guys ahead of me, but you could see Pierre Gasly really trying to size up a move here. He's not going to be able to get close enough as we move into the yellow flag zone there. Fernando Alonso is actually off the circuit on the inside there, so I need to have a look as to what has happened to him there. We'll try and get a quick replay of that McLaren car there. Going down in towards 130R here. He's going to have a look up the inside of one of the Haas cars, and it's going to be a little bit of contact there. As actually, I would put that on Fernando. He certainly was given all the room on the inside there. Couldn't get that McLaren turned in. Dinked the rear wheel of the Haas car there, and has been sent into the wall, and subsequently, well, he would actually get disqualified for parking in a dangerous location there. So Fernando Alonso, it's a yoke, is once again probably coming out there, which moves us up into P17 of this Grand Prix. Onto lap 7 though, as you can see, it was fairly quiet through these opening stages of the race there. We were up slowly but surely moving through the order after a couple of guys that did make their first pit stops of the day here. And it was just a case of trying to, just work away. At the moment, you can see Max Verstappen actually did come out just in front of me after his first pit stop of the day there. But all the way on to lap 11 though, ready for our first and only, hopefully, stop of this Grand Prix. We'll actually come in on the end of lap 11 here. A huge slide as we actually come down into the pit lane there, but we do keep it just about slowed down as we make our way into the pit lane here at Japan. Then we're going to pit onto a set of the medium compound tyres. It's looking, it was looking quite overcast at this stage of the day, and there was the potential threat of rain towards the end of this Grand Prix here. So it'll be interesting to see what does happen with that. Maybe it might have been quite a bad gamble from me to pit at this early on into the race. Potentially could have tried to take it a couple of laps longer onto a set of the intermediate tyres there. But we have made, we've committed. Now you can see Lance Stroll is, well, struggling at the rear of the field. He actually had some issues with the I say the extra Williams car, the other Williams car, which was very, very unfortunate for him. But on to lap 12, though, you see further on around this lap, and well, it looks like the gamble from me hasn't paid off just yet, there, as we actually come out on to the back straight. And, well, Jeff talks about rain there, and it is actually started raining here at the Japanese Grand Prix circuit here. So it's going to be interesting to see how we do fare over these next couple of laps in terms of these weather conditions. You know, whether it is going to get very, very damp very, very quickly, and we will have just lost out on a huge amount of time or not. But actually, you know, it was one of those weird sessions where, as you can see, one lap later, we were closing up to the back of Marcus Ericsson here. Daniel Ricciardo was unfortunately out of the Grand Prix as well with an engine failure. But yeah, as I was saying, it was one of those weird sort of Grand Prix where the rain never really was enough to force us onto the inters or the wet tyres there, which, you know, we haven't had on F1 2018 so far. Generally speaking, you know, Bahrain is probably the best example of it. And even when it was only raining just a small amount, you really did need the wet tyres on the car there, which is obviously quite fortunate for us in this Grand Prix. Means our strategy has gone as pear-shaped as, you know, it was originally expected. So yeah, but moving on one lap later though, lap 14, we're closing up slowly but surely to the back of Marcus Ericsson here. The pace actually in the semi-wet conditions was actually very, very good at this stage of the Grand Prix here, and Ericsson started to feel the pressure as we break down into the Casio triangle there. He actually locks up on the way in there, a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact as he tries to squeeze me out wide on the exit of the corner there, all over the curbs and a little bit on the grass on the way out. But we do now move up into P14 of this, well, Japanese Grand Prix here, so very, very happy with that as we just now over the halfway stage of this race. Next up would be Romain Grosjean though on the old hit list here, as we actually, you know, were slowly but surely closing in on the Haas driver here. Yellow flags were out on the end of lap 19 though, as we're almost towards the end of this race. And actually Marcus Ericsson unfortunately now being the 4th retirement, if I'm not mistaken, from this Grand Prix there, so really, really unfortunate for him in this race there. Means, well, yeah, as I said, 4th retirement of the day there. Not quite what he would have wanted in this race, but obviously for us it makes no real difference as we were really trying to close up to the back of Romain Grosjean here in the Haas car. Now the pace, as I said, had been really, really strong over these last few laps, and obviously hoping you can see the gap now down to just 2.5 seconds as we skip on to lap 23 here, 4 laps later on, and while the gap now is down to just 0.7 of a second here. Are we going to be able to try and make any sort of move over these next couple of laps, closing up slowly but surely to the rear of Romain Grosjean as we come out of the final corner? They're trying to get the power down over that bump, really, really difficult to try and not kick out the back end there as we come out of the final corner. And while the gap now is down to just half a second, we do have plenty of ERS, a little bit of rich revs if we do need it. But yeah, this Williams car actually was able to match a lot of the AI down the straights around this circuit as well. Coming through the S section, you can just see how much time we were really able to gain over Grosjean there. He was just so slow coming through here. You know, we were hardly on the limit there, although we do kick out the back end through one of the corners there. And on to the end of lap 24 though, 3 laps to go of this Japanese Grand Prix here. We're going to be all over the back of Romain Grosjean here. Overtake mode, standard ERS. We're going to flick it up to Rich to the outside, in towards turn 1 here. Are we going to be able to make this work? Grosjean actually shuts the door, squeezes me out wide through the corner there. We're going to get much better traction on the exit of the corner. Are we going to be able to send it up the inside? Yes, we do there. Unfortunately, we do pick up a 3-second time penalty there, which I was really frustrated with in this Grand Prix there. Nothing we could have really done with that. Grosjean completely shut the door, even though we were quite clearly right alongside him here in this stage of the race there. So that was a little bit unfortunate for myself there. And now, well, the only real thing we can try and do from that is pull away a 3-second lead to Romain behind me there. But on to the final lap of this Grand Prix. We'd move up to P11 there after I think it was one of the McLarens actually pit. It must have obviously been Stoffel Van Dorn actually pit right towards the end of this race there. But yeah, unfortunate for me towards the end of the day there, obviously with that penalty from Romain Grosjean there. Valtteri Bottas does come through to take the win for Mercedes there. We actually pick up another warning for track extending there as we come down in through the Casio triangle though. Unfortunately, as I said, probably one of the quietest races we've had on the whole there. But it's going to be P11 in the Japanese Grand Prix.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Park Fermé.
And Mercedes have pulled off a great victory here today. And Anthony Davidson, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
And here are our podium drivers today after that excellent race. They've excelled here, as they so often do, and it's a well-deserved victory. Mercedes, then, are on top today. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Well, the gap at the top of the championship has been cut down after a difficult race today for our championship leader. Now then, Anthony Davidson, who was your driver of the day?
It's got to be Romain Grosjean. He was in another league for me today, really impressive. I have to give it to the Professor. They pushed and found some fantastic performance. It was just a pleasure to watch.
And now let's take a look at the Constructors' standings. We saw a dip in form from the championship leaders today. Their lead has taken a significant blow. Well, what a weekend that has been. Please join us next time for another thrilling instalment of this Formula One season.
But there we are then. So, Valtteri Bottas able to take home the race victory ahead of Raikkonen and Hamilton there, which means Sebastian Vettel has now finished off the podium 2 races in a row in this F1 2018 career mode. We, unfortunately, dropped down to P12 after that very, very unfortunate penalty there. Only lucky to stay ahead of Charles Leclerc by just 1 second there. Van Dorn and Hartley were the last finishers there. Sorry, with Stroll 1 lap down there. With Ericsson, Ricciardo, Pierre Gasly and Fernando Alonso all not making it through to the end of that Grand Prix. In terms of the Drivers' Championship, Seb now only needs to outscore Valtteri Bottas by 11 points at the US Grand Prix next time out. Changes overall though, with Carlos Sainz jumping Alonso and Perez, as well as Ocon unfortunately jumping me further down the order there, which means we're back down to P13 overall in the Drivers' World Championship there. But there we are then. That has been the Japanese Grand Prix. No changes in terms of the constructors there. Overall, happy, with the comeback drive on the whole there for P12. It really should have been P11 at the end of the day, but I will certainly take that result. But thank you all so much for watching this video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you guys next time for the US Grand Prix.